What if I told you the American dream of starting with a small home, building equity, and moving up to a forever home is dead? For generations, this was the playbook for building wealth. Buy a starter home, live in it for a few years, sell it for a profit, and use that cash to upgrade. It worked for our parents, and it worked for our grandparents. But for millions of Americans today, this strategy isn't just failing to build wealth, it's actively costing them thousands of dollars. The game has changed, and playing by the old rules could be the biggest financial mistake of your life. Stick with me, because in the next 10 minutes, I'm going to break down exactly why the starter home is a trap and what you should be thinking about instead. Let's rewind to the post-World War II era. The American economy was booming. Suburbs were sprouting up across the country, filled with modest, affordable houses. These were the original starter homes. A young family could buy one with a decent job and a small down payment. For decades, this model held strong. You'd buy a small 2-bedroom, 1-bath house. You'd paint the walls, maybe update the kitchen, and watch its value steadily climb. After 5 to 7 years, you'd sell it, pocket a nice profit, and roll that into a larger home in a better school district. This wasn't just a housing strategy. It was the primary vehicle for middle-class wealth creation. Equity in your home wasn't just money. It was security, opportunity, and a legacy to pass on. It was a reliable ladder, with each rung leading to greater financial stability. That ladder is now broken. So, what happened? The story of the starter home's decline began around the 2008 financial crisis. After the housing market crashed, construction of new homes, especially smaller, entry-level ones, plummeted. Builders found it far more profitable to construct larger, more expensive homes for wealthier buyers. This created a massive supply shortage of the very homes first-time buyers need. Think about it. From 1980 to 2010, homes under 1,400 square feet made up about 40% of all new construction. By 2019, that number had fallen to just 7%. The houses simply aren't being built anymore. At the same time, demand skyrocketed. Millennials, the largest generation in American history, entered their prime home buying years. They were competing for a dwindling pool of starter homes, not just with each other, but also with institutional investors and downsizing baby boomers. This intense competition created a bidding war frenzy. A starter home listed for $300,000 might suddenly sell for $350,000, with buyers waiving inspections just to get their foot in the door. Prices for the smallest homes have been rising faster than any other segment of the market. What was once the most accessible rung on the property ladder has now been lifted out of reach for many. The very definition of starter home has warped. In many cities, it's no longer a quaint bungalow. It's a $500,000 townhouse that requires a 6-figure income and a massive down payment. The entry point to homeownership has become a massive financial barrier. Now let's talk about the real killer: transaction costs. This is the hidden trap that so many first-time buyers fall into. When you buy and sell a house, you're not just dealing with the sticker price. There are closing costs on both ends. When you buy, you're paying for things like loan origination fees, appraisal fees, title insurance, and attorney fees. This can easily add up to 2 to 5% of the purchase price. So on a $400,000 starter home, you could be paying an extra $20,000 right out of the gate, money that doesn't go toward your equity at all. But the real pain comes when you sell. The biggest cost is the real estate agent's commission, which traditionally sits around 5 to 6% of the sale price. On that same $400,000 house, that's another $20,000 to $24,000 gone. Add in seller concessions, transfer taxes, and other miscellaneous fees, and you could easily spend nearly 10% of your home's value just to sell it. Let's do the math. If you buy a home for $400,000, transaction costs to buy are $15,000. You live there for 3 years. So let's say in a decent market it appreciates to $450,000. That sounds like a $50,000 profit, right? Wrong. When you sell, transaction costs are about $27,000. So your $50,000 gain is immediately cut down to $23,000. And we haven't even talked about maintenance, repairs, property taxes, or the interest you paid on your mortgage. When you factor all of that in, it's very possible to live in a home for several years, sell it for more than you paid, and still walk away having lost money. A short-term flip that used to build wealth is now a recipe for financial loss. The churn is what kills you. The fourth nail in the starter home's coffin is the slow pace of modern equity growth. In the early years of a 30-year mortgage, the vast majority of your monthly payment goes toward interest, not the principal. Take that $400,000 home with a 6.5% interest rate. Your monthly principal and interest payment is about $2,500. In the first year, you'll pay $30,000, but only about $4,000 of that will actually go toward paying down your loan. The other $26,000 goes straight to the bank as interest. After 5 years of payments totaling $150,000, you'll have only paid off about $25,000 of your principal. This means you're almost entirely reliant on market appreciation to build any meaningful equity in the short term. But relying on rapid appreciation is a gamble, not a strategy. What if the market flattens? Or worse, what if it dips slightly, as it often does? If your home's value doesn't increase enough to cover those massive transaction costs, you become house-strapped. You can't afford to sell because you'd have to write a check at closing just to get out. You can't afford to stay because your family is growing and the small space no longer works. This is the starter home nightmare. You're stuck in a property that's too small, draining your finances and preventing you from moving on with your life. The dream of climbing the ladder has become the reality of being stuck on a broken first step. So if the traditional starter home is a trap, what's the alternative? The mindset has to shift from starter home to long-term home. Instead of buying a house you plan to outgrow in 3 to 5 years, you need to think in a 7 to 10-year time frame, or even longer. This changes the entire equation. A longer holding period allows you to ride out short-term market fluctuations. It gives you time to pay down a significant amount of your mortgage principal, so you're building real equity, not just phantom paper gains. And most importantly, it spreads those crippling transaction costs over a much longer period, diminishing their impact. This means you might have to save for longer to afford a home that will meet your needs for the next decade, not just the next couple of years. This might mean buying a slightly smaller home in a great location that you can add on to later, rather than a bigger home in a less desirable area. It means focusing on the bones of the house: the location, the layout, the school district, rather than the cosmetic finishes you can change over time. It's a strategy of patience. Instead of rushing to buy the first thing you can afford, you're making a deliberate, long-term investment in your future. You're buying a home you can grow into, not one you'll be desperate to grow out of. This approach is less about getting rich quick and more about building wealth sustainably. It's about transforming your home from a short-term stepping stone into a long-term foundation for your financial life. Okay, let's bring it all together. I know this is a lot to take in, and it can feel discouraging. But knowledge is power, and understanding the new rules of the game is the first step to winning it. Here are the 3 key takeaways I want you to remember. First, the 5-year plan is dead.
Do not buy a home assuming you can sell it for a profit in just a few years.
The combination of high transaction costs and slow initial equity growth makes this an incredibly risky gamble. You need to think longer term. Second, starter home is the wrong mindset. The new goal is to buy the most long-term home you can responsibly afford. Stretch yourself to buy a home that you can see yourself in for at least 7 to 10 years. This might mean saving for a larger down payment or reevaluating your must-have list. But it will save you a fortune in the long run by avoiding the costly cycle of buying and selling. And third, focus on building equity through your mortgage, not just market appreciation. Time is your best friend. The longer you stay in one place, the more of your loan you pay off, and the less vulnerable you are to market swings. True wealth from real estate is built over decades, not a few years. The American dream of homeownership isn't gone, but it has evolved. The path is different now. It requires more patience, more strategy, and a clear understanding of the new financial landscape. By avoiding the starter home trap, you can set yourself up for genuine, long-term financial success. If you found this video helpful and want to learn more about navigating the modern real estate market, make sure to hit that subscribe button. We release new videos every week, designed to help you make smarter financial decisions. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.